Hello, everyone. Greetings. It's Lotus. So, we're going to shift into some conversation about the cosmic energies and the impact that they have on our being, and really how we can be supported by them. And I'm going to post a couple links that come from, I believe it's the National Health Institute or the Library Institute. Anyway, they're government formats, and I don't actually remember all of them. So I think there's two of them that I will post the links for, because I'm not going to go into all the details, but we just have some really important information. So I want to talk about, you may be hearing about the magnetic storms, right? The GeoStorms, the sunspots, the plasma wave influxes, the CMEs, that the coronal mass ejections that are coming from the sun. And this kind of goes along with, even our not just the sun, but even the moon energies, right? And the seasonal portals of the equinoxes, solstices. So everything is heightening around our planet, on our planet right now. And, I know everybody's talking about it, right? If you're on any of these kind of more spiritual platforms, everybody's talking about it. And the beauty of this is everyone's been talking about it, but now we're coming out, we're recognizing that there's more and more science to back this up. Most of us who have been on this path for decades, we've known it intuitively, like we know that this is a real deal because we've experienced it through our bodies. But now science is coming out, so it's I think important information for people to have, to recognize how to navigate their own health and wellness more completely, right? With more awareness and more intelligence. I don't mean intelligence, but have more wisdom and more information to really grok in our brains of all of this is interconnected. So I wanted to just talk about, I'm not going to go through all the details and all the studies because I'm going to post those, and that's not, we don't need to go into all that there. If you feel called to study that, then that's awesome. But if this is a nice confirmation for you, then that's beautiful. So all of these cosmic events have different effects on our biology. Science is now recognizing that when we're getting these influxes, here are some of the effects and impacts on our physical body from them. So we're just going to put all of this under the heading of the magnetic storms, the CMEs, the EMFs, the solar spots, the solar storms, or rather sunspots. They disrupt our body. So the effects that they can have will depend on whether we have pre-existing conditions. And it's not going to happen for everybody, but just to know that these are potentials. If you have pre-existing conditions, these can get exasperated around these influxes, or like when the Schumann resonance spikes, You know, normally when the Schumann resonance starts spiking, and that's the frequency on the planet, I think that's one of the first awarenesses I certainly had on all of this. It's like, whoom, out like a light. Can't think, can't do anything, just have to sleep. Because that's the body's way of integrating all of these new frequencies. So the areas that we can be affected, that these studies show, is our blood can be affected, cells and blood vessels. There can be an increase and decrease in the blood circulation and in blood clotting. There can be effects in like our cholesterol and triglycerides in the blood. There can be effects on our heart. So I know for me over this last week, before I knew that we were in the middle of like massive influxes, you know, I was having a lot of heart palpitations. Normally that's going to happen for me whenever there's larger cosmic energies coming in. So it was just a confirmation when I saw some information that this is what was going on. I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Heart attacks, stroke risks, and hypertension can increase, and there can also be an increase in migraine headaches, and our nervous system will be affected. Both in our parasympathetic nervous system will kind of shoot into an increase. Sympathetic will be down-regulated. So one of the ways that I look at that is that that's part of the exhaustion that comes over us. It's like the body is saying, I've got to rest. I can't think anymore. I have to sleep. I'm foggy. I'm too exhausted, right? So that's that parasympathetic nervous system saying, time to check out for a while. There can be effects in our immune system, inflammation in the body, our bones and joints, aches and pains. Our circadian rhythm can be affected by too much, you know, like needing to sleep a lot more, unable to sleep, sleeping at odd times. Some of the disruption also can come forth in deep fatigue, feeling fever-like, flu-like symptoms, or it can be a pocket where there can be like maybe a disease that you're like a precondition for a disease can sort of start to exasperate. Myocardial infractions was studied back from 1979 through 81, that whenever there are solar disturbances, solar storms, there's an increase in this. So now we're getting these solar storms and these solar disturbances and all of these, you know, activities more and more. I mean, like, it's becoming more consistent than not. Our hormones will start to be affected as well. And then I mentioned the hypertension. So there was another part that I read, and I don't think it's in here, but they actually mentioned too, for the circulation, that there can be an increase like in carotid artery. So why that jumped out at me is my biological father over this last year, he had 2, I think maybe 3, but 2 for sure, emergency visits to the emergency room, one of which was a minor, you know, stroke that they did record that he had, and another one was he had to have an emergency on his carotid artery. So when I was talking to my stepmother about this and I was asking when they were, both of these took place during these windows of time. So I've noticed that with, other family members and friends and things like that, that when I ask and when I'm able to track them back, these are the windows that have been happening. So this isn't information to create anxiety, it's to give more information so that we recognize that the evolution that's happening for us spiritually is also this deeply physical experience. It is an embodied experience. Whether we're on a spiritual trajectory or not, we are being affected. Whether we feel it or have sensitivities to this or not, we're still being affected. And all of this is part of this evolutionary jump that we're in the middle of a quickening of. So on one hand, it's super exciting, right? It's super, we're making history, right? We've never seen this on our planet that we have in recorded time. So there are accounts, like past life regression knowings or, multidimensional experience knowings that this is just another cycle that we're going through. But, and maybe some ancient sciences like the yugas from the Hindu sciences, the yugas, they have these spaces in time, right? 26,000 year increments, I think, that cycle around the yugas, and the Mayan calendar, I think, has some of that as well. But this isn't a normal state that we're in. This is a magical time on this planet that we're experiencing, but we're deeply affected by it. And the more information that we have, the more awareness that we have, the more tools in our toolbox that we have, the more ease and grace there can be. So during any of these periods of time, it's super important to increase our self-care, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And across the board, we want to be steadying our deeper self-care and our anchoring into our sacred center on a regular basis. This is just like self-care is the order of the day. And the way that our world operates at this point still, it really isn't conducive for the steps that we're needing to take, ideally, to make these transitions and holistically, right, that whole life wellness template is what really supports. It creates a lifestyle container that can be deeply supportive for everything that I just read and talked about. So some of the tools, right? Some of the things that we want to know that are deeply important is being able to ground onto the earth, bare feet on the earth, in connection with the cycles and the rhythms of the organic. So the organic time. This is very different than mechanical time. Mechanical time is It's a setup for dis-ease, for stress, for discontentment, for anxiety, for, being exhausted, being run down, trying to fit into survival boxes. That paradigm is what's falling away, and that paradigm is not supportive for everything that is happening energetically on our planet, and even to the effect that we're going to be moving into even faster energy in November through 2025. And I'm not going to talk about that here. Maybe I will in another one. So I'm still kind of studying that a little bit. So we want to recognize that there's a mechanical timeline and there's an organic timeline. Nature is what is a medicine for everything we just listed. It is the medicine for our nervous system, for inflammation, for our heart rate, for our brain waves, for our mood, for how our blood flows, right? In the moon calls, the new moon and full moon meditation calls, we talk about some of these things, right? That on the full moon, the sap of trees rise. On the new moon, the sap decreases, right? It moves towards the earth. All of this is the same for us. We are part of this continuum. Our fluids do much of the same thing. So what's happening on our blood cells and our blood flow, we can begin to mirror how we can be assisted when we anchor more in the natural rhythm and natural time. I have a whole class on that you can find, excuse me, that I did probably 3 or 4 years ago. Might be a little outdated now, but it can be helpful to give an overview of this, and maybe I'll link it in the box below. So we want to be more connected to the natural flow, the rhythms, the seasons, the moon times. We want to be getting daylight, natural light. We want to have less artificial light at night. Wherever you're at, as long as you can, you want to get bare feet on the earth in the morning and in the night. This regulates our hormones. It supports our DNA operation that supports turning on and off the DNA in harmony with the natural rhythms and cycles. So natural time, we want to be in line with the circadian rhythm and get sleep. We want to be sleeping at decent periods of time, meaning lessen our EMF exposure to technology because that disrupts our entire system greatly. And, we're being fed more and more and more, bells and whistles to continue to keep us on to technology. And it's really, really, really not serving us. So there's that. Meditation. Even if that's just sitting quietly and watching the breath. Bringing your energy in creates coherence. Coherence in our field and in our system is going to be growing in importance. Being embodied, learning how to get in your body and know when you're not in your body. As I've said before, Art of Sacred Embodiment is all about bringing yourself home. Most people do not live embodied. We aren't in our body. Our soul power is not anchored in our body. Are you embodied is a very real question of one of the videos I did previously. It's a very, it's a deep question. It's a multi-dimensional question. But right now, for this topic, it's a very physical question. Because the magnetics on the earth have shifted, in other words, we have less of a magnetic pole because of the evolution that's happening and because we need this to happen. However, that means that our grounding, we need to effort our grounding more and more and anchor in these energies that are coming. We want to harmonize with all of these frequencies, which leads us to light language as one of the, organic divine technologies that helps us to integrate these energies. So it does a number of things, but as per this topic, the light language, a lot of these energies can sort of just bombard our systems and land in sort of a chaotic way, or not land, and in our subtle bodies or our physical bodies, these frequencies are trying to support us. But if we aren't conscious of what's happening, if we aren't doing things to support the body in receiving them, they're going to create more chaos. So light language is one of those things that allows everything to harmonize, because they are these high frequencies. They are these higher consciousnesses. The light language, soul language, divine emanations, whatever we want to call it, they're here to assist this process. Because the solar flares, right, the GeoStorms, it's information, it's cosmic coding that we alone cannot decipher and discern, right? It's like we have a limited bandwidth for what is happening, and our bodies are trying to upgrade with them, but we need to know how to care for them, or how to care for ourselves, so that we can receive them, so things can land, so we're working in harmony with these natural cycles and rhythms and influxes and pulses, if that makes sense. So that's super important. Nutrition is very important as well, and that's going to be different for everyone. It's learning how to listen to what your body needs and craves that is healthy. That is whole food goodness. That is a lot of water. That is a lot of minerals, like vitamins and minerals, preferably from food, preferably from superfoods, right? We want to be supporting our physical structures to be as healthy as they can, because this is a lot of energy. It's like, it's like mini lightning bolts, or mini, like that kind of intensity. These rays are like jolting our system, and we need to be fortified from the inside out. I can't say too much about slowing down. I can't say too much about sensitizing to the subtleties of life, the sacred essence of life. Coming home into your truth and your wholeness and your soul presence. This is a spiritual process. This is all about inviting us, little things being thrown at me, inviting us to evolve, to become willing to evolve, to say yes to evolving. And that means life changes. Life is different. Life becomes more aligned, more harmonious, more consciously choosing our highest choices, not habitually choosing or running on the hamster wheel, but consciously choosing those things that are going to feed our consciousness with healing, nourishing, rejuvenating goodness and truth, not illusion, right? So it all of that takes place in the music that we listen to, the entertainment that we partake in, the spare time. Like, what do we do with our free time? Are we present or are we checking out? The company that we keep, the environment that we hang out in, are they healthy? Are they uplifting? Are they guiding us and supporting us to know our highest expressions? Or are they kind of, keeping us in denser level operations, lower center shadow aspects of ourselves? The more that we come into our wholeness, thinking for ourselves, not being hooked into the the hive mind, the herd mentality of the mainstream, the chaos, the trials and tribulations, the things that are crumbling, the drama, the pain and the suffering. The more we come home and fortify ourselves in love and peace and compassion and faith and trust, we then create the new frequency. We become the dominant frequency that emanates out naturally healing support through holding that awareness and consciousness and operating from responsiveness and not reactivity. All of this is part of our inner fortification, our inner truth, our soul presence, our divine connection. And of course, doing our healing work, right? Of course, continuing to be accountable for where we're not in alignment, where we're not choosing, where we're choosing pain and suffering, or staying on a hamster wheel that is really not helping us, right? Or helping those around us. So these are all some tools, and of course there's nuances and specifics within these tools, but it's recognizing that we're needing to expand our holistic care, our holistic presence, right? Our holistic consciousness, that we aren't separate from any of these things. And the more we connect in, the more we take the time to ground, to connect with the influxes through meditation, to be open to receive, to be relaxed in order to receive, we travel with more ease and grace. So I think that's all that I want to say right now. And I'm going to post these links so that anybody who feels called to do your own research can do so, and to share this research, right, with doctors who may not be aware of this. Share it with family members. Um, Share it with those friends who are struggling. The more that we recognize that all of this affects the physical, the emotional, and our mental processes, the more empowered we are to make new choices. So, with that, I'm going to sign off. I hope that was helpful. Many blessings. Bye bye.